Hey, good morning everybody. Welcome back to the channel, Drawing with Michael. I am Michael. So, in the midst of the wonderfulness that is the coronavirus, quarantines and everything else that's going on, I figured I'd just sit down and do some drawing for you guys. I typically like to do a warm-up, you guys know, and this morning is no different. Today I'm going to be working with the Kohi-Noor woodless pencil on Bristol board. I know I've been doing a lot of this, but it's been really busy, so I haven't been able to really sit down and do an illustration. But you know, warm-ups are important, and drawing, you know, and I've said this before, stress drawing, which is something that I do, really helps me get rid of a lot of the cobwebs. Faces in general really help me just, you know, get rid of a lot of the, I call them cobwebs. It's just generally, you know, that disconnect between my hand and my eyes and my brain. And you know, especially as a professional, I want to get in there and really just start drawing and being creative to the best of my ability. And a lot of times that's hard. And this actually helps me get rid of some of that gray area. So this morning I'm doing some faces. Faces. You know, not really sitting down and doing anything particular other than just some generalized, you know, cartoony faces. It's not for any one particular project. And what this does is it helps me reaffirm certain things that I do as an artist, an illustrator, and it kind of builds up a nice library of things that I can go back to if and when I ever need to. So you guys see that I'm drawing a male. I will do a female at some point, but I typically kind of gravitate towards doing male faces because of the wrinkles and you know, some of the things that I can do with them. That's not to say that I don't draw females, I do, but it's, you know, some people have their strengths and males just happen to be one of my strengths. I typically like to do animals. Let's give him a... And two, what you can do as you progress through this wonderful world of character design and art is you draw upon... little pun there, you draw upon the things that you've seen in the past. And one of my old teachers that I used to have had this huge mole on his forehead. He was a music teacher, and you know, we used to kind of jest and saying that was part of his superpower. Of course, whenever he ended up getting it removed for whatever reason, he lost his superpower. We always kind of jested and had fun at his expense. Just for fun. He was a great teacher, and he knew it. Okay, so whenever I start doing stuff like this, I always like to obviously rough in a circle, and then I just basically build stuff in around that circle. And, you know, I've had a lot of people ask, how do you, you know, have such a broad range of things that you draw? Number one, I observe. You know, I observe a lot whenever I'm out. You know, maybe I'll see somebody in the post office. Maybe I'll see somebody in the grocery store, and I'll take a mental note. Or even, you know, now that we all have cameras in our devices, you know, maybe I'll take a slide picture, and that'll go into the library. And once I start sitting down and draw, I'll start looking through the library to get inspired. He's a little bit older, so we're going to give him... There we go. Just kind of stretched out. I would consider this like a classic cartoon. I want his hair to come out a little bit more here. Maybe he's an ex-hippie, and he's just trying to hang on. He's got a little ponytail right here. Hanging on to that last little bit. I gotta hang on. I remember the glory days of all my long hair. You know, And we've all seen people like this in, you know, in the world. Trying to hang on to that last little bit of hair that I have. I remember back in the old days, I had my big handlebar mustache, and I had my, well, maybe he's even got a little bit of a handlebar situation going on right here, right? Something fun? Something fun for you guys. He's got a little goatee. He's an I guess once you're a hippie, you're always a hippie, right? You're not really an ex-hippie, you know? Here we go. Give him a little bit of hair right here too. Anyway, like I said, you know, building up that visual library in your head. And in real life, you know, I've got a huge archive of artwork that I've done, and also, you know, thumbnail sketches. And a lot of times it's good for us to go back and look through a lot of that old work. You know, I was looking through, I think I posted it on Instagram actually. I was looking through some of my archives and I found some really old work that I had done for the Chinese zodiac, and I liked it. You know, tiger, rooster, and dragon. And, you know, I posted them, and a lot of people were like, wow, these are really good. You should go ahead and do something with them. Are they for sale? So I'm going to post them on Amazon merch to see what I can get out of them. You know, I mean, I've already done the work. I didn't really do anything with them. Just kind of an experiment. And two, I think what, you know, you need to realize too is if you're doing stuff right now, it's not necessarily in style. I mean, that happens a lot of times with fine artists. You know, fine artists might be out of sync with their particular time, and they'll do some work and it doesn't really, you know, hit the pulse of the community. But later on, maybe in, you know, 5, 7, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, you know, that piece might get revealed, and then suddenly that particular artist is now popular, because now, for some reason or the other, the artwork has become, you know, popular. So don't ever throw your stuff away. You know, you never know. You know, that's what I tell students, you know, whenever I was teaching. You never know. Just have fun with it. So if you're watching, you know, I'll have my base circle in, then I'll just start building stuff around, and I'll start thinking of character. You know, maybe I want to do an older guy that, again, you know, maybe he's kind of curmudgeon-y. So curmudgeon people typically have these angry eyebrows, you know, and they've got these kind of a squinched up little area right here, and they're worrying about stuff all the time. So you've got these wrinkles, and always keeping into account, I've got the circle underneath. So I'm kind of building around that circle area, right? So I've got these little beady eyes that are right here. Beady being just little beads that show, right? And he's angry. Nobody really knows why. I had a guy when I was younger that lived down the street from me. I can't remember his name. I'm sure if I sat here and went to the Mind Palace and the Rolodex in my brain, that I could probably pull him up. But he was very similar to this guy. And of course, you know, me being a kid, I lived in a very rural part of Louisiana called Denham Springs. And, you know, we lived on a single, it wasn't a dirt road, it was paved, but it was single road just going all the way through. There weren't any branch offs or anything like that. It was just like, here's the main highway, here's a back road highway, here was our road, and there was a massive field over here, and there was a huge forest, and there were houses. So we had neighbors and whatnot. Here, let's do this. He's got his, there we go. And you know, we had the houses, and it was great because, you know, we were kind of away from, we weren't in the city. We had access to city things. We weren't you know, too destitute. But we basically, you know, we had just kind of a microcosm of America, of Americana. So I always joke and I say I had the best childhood ever, because it was like, excuse me, it's like the Little Rascals. In fact, we had our own little group, and we were constantly getting into shenanigans, and everybody had their own character, of who they were, and it was really cool. It was a really cool environment. And this guy that I'm describing to you, gosh, what was his name? Let me get it in there. He was so curmudgeon-y. Well, he decided he was going to build a house. He was a builder. And my friends and I, of course, we tormented, we moved his stuff all the time, his building supplies. We would go in and just really torment the guy. And I can remember he never liked us. He never really had an inkling to do anything with kids. He looked at kids as being just one of those, things that you just look at and you're like, oh gosh, kids, I don't understand kids today. And he was an older guy, so he's probably, from the Great Depression, and he just didn't like kids of the 80s, because I was an 80s kid. Okay, so let's do this. I remember he had this huge chin. So let's do that. Let's get this here. Okay. And he always had this wild hair. Most of the time he wore a train hat. I never understood that. Maybe he loved, model trains, and he looked at kids and he's like, kids, they don't know what it's like to be hard. So let's go ahead and get some whiskers on this guy. What was his name? It's gonna bother me. And he had these really bushy eyebrows, right? They're so bushy. He did not have a short hair. He was balding. And he had these like wings that came out. It's going to bother me. It's going to bother me for the rest of the day. I'm not going to remember what his name is. And you watch, it's going to come to me late at night. I'm going to be like, it's going to wake me up. My wife's going to be like, what are you doing? Go to bed. What are your kids doing with your rock and roll and your root beer? You guys need to go and clean your room. Okay, so that's those two. All right, let's do this. Let's go here. We'll have it come around. And so too, whenever you start, don't get into the details too quickly. A lot of times I'll just start drawing really big shapes, and what'll happen is as I draw the big shapes, the character actually will evolve. So here's his bulbous nose. Here's the inner part of his nostril. Here's the other nostril you can't see. So it's going to be kind of looking, he's going to be looking down on us a little bit. All right. Like this. Okay. So I've got that mapped in pretty well. And two, again, all I'm doing is just mapping. I'm getting stuff in very loosely, loose, very loose. All right, look at his ear that comes out here. Even these cartoons have a semblance of anatomy, you know, where stuff goes, right? Like I have the top of this going to his ear. Even though it's an oversized ear, everything kind of squashes and stretches to fit the narrative, right? So we got this coming here. I got his head coming out. Got his eyebrows kind of squish out like this. His head comes up, over like that. We've got this hair comes out and goes in. Okay. I had an opportunity to do a really cool illustrated character for a client recently. And unfortunately, I didn't have all the information, which happens a lot in my business. A lot of times you'll have product developers that get wind of a project and then they have access to somebody, you know, like me that, you know, can really whip stuff up pretty quickly. And then you'll do something. And then, of course, the information was only kind of just a discussion or a breath. It didn't really have an art meeting. And then what inadvertently happens is the product developer will basically have you do something, and it turned out great. And then, of course, the information comes after, you know, the product developer will submit stuff for approval, you know, and be like, oh, look what I did. And what happens is, you know, it'll get to the art director or the people who haven't finished the discussion on the project yet. And they'll say, wow, that's really cool. But, you know, what happens inadvertently is, you know, you didn't get all the information, or the product developer didn't get all the information. And what happened was the piece that I did wasn't supposed to look like the character that played this particular creature. And, you know, even though the creature's essence is, you know, one thing, you can't have the character looking like, or the toy looking like the character. Right, the likeness, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But what inadvertently happened is now, you know, it gets passed off to another artist who will make the corrections and go through the whole production cycle, and it'll get approved, and it'll come to whoever it goes to for 3D sculpting. So, you know, that happens a lot. I wish I would have been part of that project a little bit more, but you know, if I am part of it in any capacity, it would probably be in the 3D stage, which I'm very thankful for. I had, you know, I love doing 3D work, and even though drawing is my jam, I still really enjoy doing, you know, 3D work. Get my collar. And, you know, especially in this day and age and this time that we're in, you know, even, you know, being, you know, doing what I'm doing is, I'm very fortunate to be doing what I'm doing. So I'm very thankful for the fact that I'm even part of a project, you know. That's a good thing. Let's give him a little, his mustache is basically the focus here. Good. Yeah. Hopefully everything will go back to normal here soon. You know, summer's coming up. We're coming into the season. You know, theme parks and vacations and everything else. And I'm sure that's one of the reasons why they're trying to get everything settled with regards to this coronavirus. You know, my wife brought up an interesting comment recently, you know. there's obviously conspiracy theorists, but you know, the whole thing, you know, my son and I were ill probably a month ago, and you know, they tested him for flu and he came back negative, and he had a fever and he had a slight cough, and you know, some people are surmising that it's already come through once and it came through, you know, mildly, but now, you know, there's like a different strain of it or something. And possibly that, you know, they don't want the run on hospitals to get out of control. That's why they're really implementing a lot of these things, because they've already seen it come through once. And of course, before, they weren't testing for coronavirus. They tested for flu. And if it came back negative, they're like, well, you probably just have a cold. Now they know what to test for. So you never know. It's just one of those deals where you just don't know. All right, so we'll do one more. And then I'll be sufficiently warm. Maybe he's an old teacher. Okay, so in this situation, what I want to do is, since there are certain things about older people that, you know, you need to understand, gravity pulls on their skin. That's one thing. Two, they gain weight, so you're going to have a little bit more fat. Their skin gets thinner, okay? Then you have wrinkles. Their hair thins, they're balding. So all these elements, and of course their teeth fall out, so that affects your jawline. You're not going to have this really strong jawline in an 85-year-old. You're going to have sagging stuff in the teeth, you know, and that helps support your face. So what I like to do, especially if I'm doing older people, is I just like to draw really broad shapes. And two, you know, I don't know why, like the skin hangs, everything hangs. It's being pulled by gravity. So let's have this come here. And, you know, during the practices of somebody's life, let's say if they smoke cigarettes or if they, you know, if they eat poorly, all that's going to show up in, you know, a drawing like this. Let's do this. It's going to come down. And then that jawline is going to be right here. It's going to be sagging quite a bit here. And then we're going to have that chin. Because as the skin pulls, the chin's going to be more pronounced because that skin is thinner. Okay. Go out here. So then we're going to have maybe an older teacher has been yelling at children. Maybe it's an ex-smoker. So you're going to have these wrinkles because they're pushing their lips together. You can always tell a smoker, somebody that smoked cigarettes all their life, and I know this because my mom did. She was very wrinkly. The cigarette smoke gets on their face and it does things to their face, and it also wrinkles their mouth quite a bit. So you're going to have all these little wrinkles because they're constantly pushing in on that cigarette. Right? Not judging people who smoke. My mom did, you know. Okay, so now we get to the eyes. The eyes are going to be, we're going to have this baggage here because, again, it all pulls. Okay. Maybe it's a female. Let's do a female. Okay, the eyelashes, because they're fake eyelashes. Okay. And the tiredness. I always used to jest in saying, you know, as an adult, let's go ahead and do this, the eyebrows. The eyebrows are thinner. As an adult, if you're not exhausted and tired, you're not doing it right. Let's do this. Let's give some hoops so they're pulling a little bit. Okay. So we're going to come up. We're going to come here. And since it was a teacher, okay. I'm going to run out of room here, unfortunately. Let's give this little bun at the back. There we go. We've got this forehead. Got all these wrinkles. She's like, sit down, be quiet. She's the next first grade teacher. There we go. Let's do this, come out, wrinkle, baggage, wrinkle, come around. Okay, of course. Little glasses. It's a stereotype. I get it. I get it. Not all elderly people have glasses. I get it. I know. Wrinkle. And you don't want to define the jawline too much. So we'll just have right here a little bit of stuff going on. Maybe some. My darling, why don't you come over here and rub my corns? No, I don't want to rub your corns. I want to run from your corns. Oh, darling, come on over. I got some candy for you. No, I don't want your candy. Okay. And this is basically, like I had indicated before, this is just a little sketch-a-do to help start my day. Okay. And two, you know, whenever a character design, and this is a character design, whenever I do character designs like this, especially, you know, I've got a direction in my brain of what I want to do, as I almost lost my pencil. Having a teacher, so, you know, pulled back hair in a bun, again, that's, you know, reads very quickly, a little bit older, you know, she's got some mileage on her. You know, maybe she's got a couple whiskers. I'm just kidding. So big brain, because she's a teacher. So we have this big open area, larger forehead, right? So then when it's like the older people get, the smaller the glasses are. So we've got that going on. Let's go ahead and get this up here like that. And then of course, the wrinkles. And of course the hair. We've got that ear. Come here, ear's a little bit bigger. Got that earring pulling down, but she's still hanging on to the earrings, bro. Okay, I think that's all that I'm going to do for you guys today. I'm trying to get videos out as fast as I can. Like I had indicated before, I have a huge project for a client that's ongoing and they keep adding stuff, so it is a challenge. But for those of you who are watching my videos that are, you know, at home, quarantined or whatever you're doing, definitely, you know, put a smile on your face and know that this soon will pass, right? It's not going to be an ongoing thing. The world doesn't shut down forever. If it's 2 weeks, if it's 3 weeks, if it's a month, it soon too will pass, okay? And then we'll be back to normal. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing. Thanks for visiting my channel. As always, I try and put a positive spin on things. I never want to be a negative Nelly. That's not who I am, right? Maybe I'll do some digital stuff over the weekend. We'll see. Maybe I'll record it. Don't know. She's got it tight. Can't see any flesh. Her, darling, come over here and let me scare the life out of you. Oh! All right, you guys. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Do-do-ba-do-ba-doop-doo. Thanks for visiting the channel. Like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.